Well, hello everybody. My name is Kelly Tripp. Some of you know me, some of you don't. That's okay, Sarah. You did a great job. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Thank you. Good. I fit all three of the categories. I have been a caregiver. I am currently caregiving. I have received care, all of the above, both professionally and in my private life. So I have walked that path with my grandmother and my mother at times and my adult child. And so I know how stressful caregiving can be. When I was asked to do this, I kind of took some time to reflect on what was the most difficult thing for me. What was the most difficult thing for me as a caregiver to get through? And for me, it was stress. And it wasn't the stress of giving care to my grandmother or my son. For me, the stress was everything else. It was the shopping. It was leaving the home. I didn't want to leave them. It was paying bills. It was all of the daily things that kind of get in the way of the care you're giving, right? So I thought what I wanted to do was really focus on stress management in the home place. And your home may not have any stress in you, right? Not yet. Everything's real smooth. I got a little smirk going. My home was very stressful in the midst of caregiving because I had a grandmother and a young child, and then another session of caregiving. I had an adult child and younger children and two parents that also needed care. So, and then at one point, my husband's mother needed care, and we were the long distance piece of that caregiving. I'm also a social worker by trade, so I have a lot of caregiving in that role as well. I tend to focus on each day as it comes because really that's all we're given. So I tend to build up a lot of stressful days in a row, but I don't realize I'm doing it until I yell at the dog, right? Or I yell at the youngest child, or something triggers me to realize, hey, wait a minute, I need to stop and take a minute. And three things that helped me more than anything in the world when I was in the midst of caregiving for multi-generations was, number one, to take 20 minutes every morning before everybody gets up to have my time in reflection with God and prayer and meditation, just to get myself ready and get that strength in me before I start my day. The other thing was, when the person I'm caregiving for sleeps, I sleep. Now that we never do, right? Because while they're asleep, we're going to do laundry and we're going to clean house and we're going to run to the grocery and we're going to da-da-da-da-da. But we need rest. And eventually our bodies will get angry with us if we don't rest. And that leads to headaches, weight gain, illness, colds. We tend to pick up anything that comes through if our immune systems are not rebooted. Now, I heard this a long, long time ago. I don't know if it's true or not. Maybe Sarah can let us know. 9 hours of sleep in a totally dark room will reboot our immune system. So I have these little black things over my clock, and I have room darkening shades, and it is helpful for me. So what I want to talk about is coping on a daily basis. I'm going to have to switch between glasses here. So the first thing is, what is stress? What is stress? What does that mean? Everybody talks about stress making us gain belly weight. Well, obviously I'm very stressed. When pressures or challenges and demands exceed your ability to cope. So when pressure exceeds my ability to cope, that's when stress occurs. Now that could simply be, I'm tired at the end of the day. And my ability to cope is because I'm tired, but there's stress involved with that. And when our bodies and our brains get stressed, it releases certain hormones and certain endorphins and certain chemicals that cause our bodies problems. And I'm a mental health professional, so I'm going to focus mostly on the mental health piece because that's my caveat, right? So it's synonymous with change. There are people who love change, but most of us don't like change. We have a schedule. We like things to be a certain way. And if you're caregiving for someone who has dementia, there is no schedule. What you may, is as best as you can keep a schedule, that's great. But sometimes the needs of that person don't fit our schedule. right? They're up at 2 in the morning, or they don't want to eat at the time you want them to eat, or they take a long time to eat, and that interferes with other things. And most of us, if we're caregivers, we have a loving heart to start with, so we don't get upset about the long time it takes to eat or the long time it takes to feed them. However, all the things we couldn't do while we were feeding them, that's where the stress comes in, or it did for me. So stress can manifest itself in physical, emotional, or behavioral symptoms, and we've talked about some of those. I would like for you guys to just yell out a symptom of stress that you can identify in yourself, if you're comfortable with that. For me, it's the inability to sleep. When I get really stressed, I can't sleep. Can anybody else think of something that they know, loss of appetite, or irritability, or you know you're stressed when this happens?
My shoulders get really tight.
Shoulders get tight. Yeah, a lot of us, our neck gets tight. Anybody else?
Someone in my family has gained a lot of weight
Through stress, weight gain.
Stress.
Me too. I can relate to that for sure. So weight gain, tight shoulders. Anybody else?
Yelling,
Pardon?
yelling at
Yelling.
reason of people.
Yep. Kind of losing our cool, not being able to keep ourselves under wraps. Absolutely. And then feeling guilty after it, and that creates more stress. Yeah. Anybody else?
I can think of a whole bunch of things.
Well, name one for us.
I don't have any one particular.
Any one particular? Anybody think of anything? It's important for you to know kind of what your stress triggers are and when your body and your brain is telling you, I need you to stop now. Okay? So think about that for a minute. If managed properly, stress can be good, giving you the energy and motivation to meet your daily challenges. This is a really good one in that most mothers, and I don't know about fathers because I'm not a father, but most mothers don't fall apart until the crisis is over, right? We hold it together for the kids, we hold it together for everybody else, and then 2 days or 3 days after the crisis, that's when we fall apart. That's when we cry and yell and scream and snot and all that stuff, right? Or that's when I do anyway, right? We hold it together pretty good as long as we're in the midst of the crisis. So all that stress of holding it together really good in the midst of the crisis comes out later for us. And it may happen that way for guys too. I'm not sure. Does it happen that way for guys? Huh? Maybe? No, guys never fall apart. That's right. You know, there is a big difference between the way women and men handle stress, for sure. My husband handles stress by going to the woods. Going to the woods. That's how he handles stress. He gets to a place where he knows he's off the deep end, kind of so to speak, because he's also been a caregiver in our family with everything that we've had going on. And he says, Kelly, I got to go to the woods for a little while. I'm like, okay, I'll take care of things till you get back. And that's the other thing, is knowing what works for you. I like to be quiet and be in the woods too. I don't like a bunch of, we're kind of rural people. So, types of external home-related stress. Now I want you to, first of all, if you can today, if you can get anything out of this today, just acknowledge that there's stress at home. We don't want to acknowledge that. We want to think our home is a castle and everything's fine. But if you live in today's society, there is stress in your home. So I want to talk a little bit about some positive stress. Now keep in mind that the chemicals that are released in your brain are the same whether it's positive or negative stress. Most people don't know that. If you're going on vacation, it's a positive thing, but it still is stressful. If you retire, it's a positive thing, but it's still stressful, and the chemicals are the same, okay? So some positives are retirement, family changes, reorganization, and that reorganization can be anything from the kitchen cabinets to the family structure. So that's a big one, because some of you may have grandkids in the home, you're caring for grandkids, and then you have elders or spouses that you're caring for also. It's called the sandwich generation. We have a lot of that in our area. So it may be that you're caring for 2 or 3 different generations, and you have to reorganize your whole household to get all these people in it, right? Getting more help can be positive, but how stressful is it to tell people what to do? right? How stressful is it when you have these people that come and say, oh, I want to bring you a meal. And what I want to say is, I'd rather you go shopping for me. That would help me more if you just go do the shopping. And I can cook, I'm in the home. What would really help me is if you would go shopping. And getting past our societal expectations enough to say, I really appreciate the meal, but it would be much better for me if you could just stop by, get a list, and go to the store. Because I can cook while I'm in the home caregiving, but leaving my wife right now is stressful for me to go do shopping. So ask. We don't want to impose on anybody. We don't want to ask. But if they're willing to help, then ask them to do what you need them to do and what's going to lessen your stress the most. How many of you enjoy helping people? Just about everybody. I want you to turn this help thing around in your mind for just a minute, okay? When you help people, do you feel good about yourself? Do you feel joyous in a way? Do you feel like you're a blessing to someone? So if someone's trying to help you, don't steal their blessing. Don't steal their blessing. Let them help you. It makes them feel good. It's a blessing for them to be able to help you. What would happen if you wanted to help someone and they refused it? How would that make you feel? Right? Well, I couldn't have helped them. Right? So let them help you. It makes them feel good, and it gives them an opportunity to store up treasures in heaven and feel good about themselves and be a blessing. Okay? So flip that around a little bit if you can. New job, children, more help. Received good news. That can be stressful. I got good news of a job, but then I had to start traveling. That was pretty stressful for me. Great news, different job, but now I got to travel. Oh no, I don't know if I can do this. Improved system. Sometimes as people age and we're being caregivers, we have a new system that comes in, like what Sarah was talking about. We have new people coming in the home. We have maybe a paid caregiver, maybe some volunteers, maybe people from the church. But it makes our home system different, and it's changed, so it's stressful. Okay, negative types of external stress, financial shortages, obviously that's a biggie. Family changes are on both. Why did I do that? Because sometimes we can have negative family changes, right? But any family change, whether it's retirement, loss, illness, all of those are stressful, both positive and negative. Illness and diagnosis, of course, multiple elders in the family. Our family has gone through that one and still are. Limited experience in your own self's ability to caregive and the people that you're expected to trust to caregive. When you have a new person walking in your house and now they're going to give your spouse a bath and take their blood pressure, and that's stressful, right? Do I trust this person? I don't really know this person. Do I need to watch if they steal something? There's a lot of stress comes along with that. And sometimes I think just owning that it's stressful is helpful. It's kind of like riding around on a flat tire. If you don't ever know it's flat, you're not going to be able to fix it. So owning that this is stressful and saying, this is stressful, it helps you to be able to move past it, move through it, and fix it. So lack of teamwork, of course, that's a biggie. And sometimes our team is not made up of the people that we want our team to be made up of. Sometimes the help that we get is from those sandpaper people that God sends us to rub us the wrong way. See how we're going to act, right? Right? I'm a sandpaper person. I know about those. So, types of internal stress, positive influences on the stress level, good self-image, feeling good about yourself. What happens to that good self-image when your spouse gets ill? Does that affect your self-image? Especially you guys. Oh, I didn't take good care of my wife. She's sick. Guys are good for guilt sometimes, I think, because they want to fix it. Guys are fix-its. They want to fix it, right? So don't allow illness to take away your own good self-image. Setting realistic goals, that's a biggie for women. I don't know, maybe guys too. Yeah, probably. My husband doesn't set realistic goals. So when you're thinking about setting goals for yourself, Don't put 15 hours worth of work in an 8-hour time span and then add on top of that, I'm getting laughter. Now I know I'm hitting it, right? You put 15 hours worth of work in an 8-hour time span, but then wait, I gotta feed my wife 3 times a day. Set realistic goals. Get in mind what you want to do for the day and then cut it in half. Negative influence of stress, low self-image, unresolved family issues. I work a lot with that in my business. Most of the time as parents, when we have adult children, we don't even know we've given them these issues. And all of a sudden they have issues and we're just blindsided by some of that sometimes. And I've experienced that, and it's very difficult to move through that in a positive way. So just keep in mind that once they're 18, you're not accountable. We want to be, but we don't have to be. Okay. Expecting too much of yourself and or others, refusing help that is offered. Many times we don't want to be a burden. But now remember, don't steal their blessing, right? They're trying to be a blessing, and if you don't let them, you're stealing their blessing. You wouldn't want someone to do that to you. Give them an opportunity to store up treasure. So don't steal their blessing. Accept the help that's offered. If the help that's offered is not something that's going to be helpful, then tell them something to do that might be easier on them. I'd much rather go shopping than cook, right? Give them something to do that might be easier on them but better for you. You know, I understand you would love to come clean house, but I've got that. If I give you checks, could you just run around town and drop these in the mail or pay these bills for me, right? Think about the things that are going to be most helpful to you as a caregiver. 3 stages of stress, and this is your body's response to that. Alarm. Oh my goodness, she's fallen. Or I forgot something. Or everybody has that sense of, right? So then you recognize it, you prepare to deal with it. Resistance, I'm just not going to do this. I need to cope adequately. I'm just not going to cope with this at all. Right? That's kind of, I'm not sure why I put that on there, but anyway, I was very tired when I did this. Exhaustion, that's where I was at. I was very tired when I did this. The body can no longer cope. When the body can no longer cope, the brain can no longer cope as well. So what happens when we reach that place of severe exhaustion is that we don't think clearly. And when our brains are in crisis, the frontal lobe is our ability to make decisions. Usually we can hold about 5 or 6 thoughts in there at a time, what to do next and next and next, a linear thought process. When we get stressed and exhausted, we can only hold 1, maybe 2. So the frontal lobe is our reasoning and logic, goes out the window. If you find yourself talking and you're not able to complete sentences, or you're talking in circles, or you can't find the words, you're exhausted. You need to
Warps your
rest.
personality.
Pardon?
Warps your personality.
It can warp your personality. Exhaustion can do a whole host of things. We can't laugh anymore. Some of us get an inability to cry. Some of us get, that your brain gets exhausted much like your body does. Okay? So the physical effects of stress, and these are real important to pay attention to: chest pain, shortness of breath. Don't ignore those. Okay? Stress can give you a heart attack. So pay attention to your body. Our bodies will tell us when something is wrong, but we have to listen. Increased heart rate, muscle tension, you mentioned that one earlier. Insomnia, fatigue, sweating, headaches. Those are some of the physical effects of stress. So if you have any of these, or you get any of these regularly, time to stop. Time to change something, which is more stressful, right? But think about those. And this PowerPoint will be on the website too, if you want to refer back to it. But these are very important for you to recognize. Go get a massage once a week. It's an hour. Trust me, it will help. Long hot bubble bath. Walk. Turn everything off. The buzzing of the electricity. When I get stressed, I can even hear the buzz of the electricity and it agitates me. The noise. Reduce the stimulus, reduce the noise, be quiet. And that's really hard for some of us. I had to learn to do that. Now I love it. My idea of vacation is somewhere way out in the woods where there's nothing, no electricity, no running water, nothing. Take me where it's quiet. And the woods aren't quiet, just so you know. But it is different. Physiological effects on the body. Defensiveness, somebody said that earlier. We yell, we get agitated. That's when we become defensive. Anxiety. Can somebody tell me what anxiety is? Nervousness, that upset stomach, that jittery, that nothing's right, that panic mode, right? Feelings of helplessness. Reduced concentration, we've talked about that one. Irritability, anger. I'm sure no one in this room's ever been angry, right? Let me tell you where anger comes from a mental health perspective. All anger comes from fear. Fear. So if you're angry, you're afraid of something. Now, it may simply be that you're afraid you can't continue this caregiving role, that you're afraid that the daughter's not going to do what she tells you she's going to do. You're afraid that the caregivers, but think about that for a minute. If you're angry, you're afraid of something, even just that you're not going to get your way. But all anger comes from some kind of fear. That is a hardwired response from caveman days. Fear of flight, got to take care of myself. Right? Big bear coming, got to run. Okay? So if you're angry, you're afraid of something. If you can identify that fear and walk yourself through it, the anger will dissipate. Lowered self-esteem, sadness. Anybody that's caregiving is going to be on an emotional roller coaster. Good days, good minutes, bad minutes. Keep it in the perspective of just for today. What do I got to do just for today to get through? We've talked about overeating, loss of appetite, impatience, procrastination. These are some behavioral effects of stress. If you're doing some of these things, then you know that you've tipped the stress edge. Pardon? Anger, agitation, isolation. Some isolation is good. But if you've been going to church for 30 years and all of a sudden you've been caregiving for 2 years and you find yourself not wanting to go to church,
And you have a visit from me.
then you have a visit from pastor if you got a good pastor, right? But sometimes that isolation, you just want to cut everything off because you can't cope. So watch that one. That's a big one. Okay? Here's some things that you can do to cope. Of course, healthy lifestyles. We've heard that and heard that and heard that. Eat right, exercise. Maintain a positive environment. Now, how do I do that? How do I do that? I have to be positive with myself. I have to treat myself as good as I would my son or daughter. I have to treat myself mentally as good as I would the person I'm caregiving for. Would I withhold a meal from the person I'm caregiving for or from my children? So why would I do that? Why would I withhold a meal from myself? Would I make the person I'm caregiving for stay up till midnight and do laundry? No. Then why do I do that to myself? Treat yourself as well as you do everyone else. Spirituality is huge for me. I couldn't get through anything without God. There's no doubt for me. That's a big one. Relaxation techniques and humor. Those are huge. What do you do to relax? Do you even know what you do to relax? Have you forgotten how to relax? Have you forgotten how to laugh? Laughter creates some endorphins in the brain that fight stress. Go get a funny movie. Pop some popcorn. Chill out for a little minute. An hour and a half is not going to make or break you. Trust me, the work will be there when you get done with the movie, and you'll be in a better humor to take care of it. Humor's big. We use humor a lot in my family. Balance in your life, again, exercise, nutrition, adequate rest is huge. What are your leisure activities? What are the things that you used to like to do? And what are the things that you've stopped doing as a caregiver? And how many of those can you get back to, realistically? Even if it's just once a week. That 20 minutes a day in the morning will make or break me, without a doubt. 20 minutes. Share your day. Talk to people. Don't isolate. Volunteerism, obviously, most of the time, if we're being caregivers, we don't have time to volunteer. But like, if you will volunteer to host, here's one way you can kind of fit that in. If you'll volunteer to be the chairperson of a support group, you're gonna help yourself and others. And it's gonna give you that link up, like what Sarah was talking about, to the other people who are walking the path. I think I can get low on time, I need to hurry through these. Create a positive home environment. Take responsibility for your attitude. Oh, I hate that one. I just don't like that one, right? Give and accept support, teamwork. Build yourself a team. Build yourself a team. It may have some sandpaper people on it, but they can do some stuff. And if they're really sandpaper people, put them doing stuff outside the home so you don't have to deal with it. Put them going shopping, put them paying bills, right? Be adaptable but realistic. Think outside the box. This is a really good one. When my grandmother had dementia, Alzheimer's, and we were caring for her, and we kept her at home the whole time. And there was 6 of us that rotated in and out. And at the end, it took 2 or 3 of us all the time. And none of us slept. That was the big thing, is none of us slept because we were afraid she were going to fall. So we would have someone stay up all night in case she got out of the bed, because she was very mobile her entire life. So we decided, I was out in the shed one day and I found this big old cowbell. This was before bed alarms. And so I took that, she always stayed covered up at night. And so I took that cowbell and I pinned it on the bottom of the covers. And then if she went to throw them covers back, that cowbell woke me up. Sometimes the solutions can be really, really simple. You just have to think outside the box. Plan and prioritize. What do I got to get done today that I must? What are my musts? What are the maybes? And what do I really don't care about? Reduce the stimulus and laugh. Change self-talk. Look at the situation in a different way. Think outside the box. Modify your own behavior. That's a hard one. Accept help and think of it as blessing others. You are blessing others when you accept help from them. And we've talked about all of these. Just that targeted relaxation. Questions for me or Sarah? Come back up, Sarah. Anybody have questions? Got a nurse practitioner and a master social worker. About resources, about caregiving, about caring for yourself. Anybody have questions? Yes.
A little more in depth of where throughout this process you talk about end of life decisions and able to discuss that.
My suggestion is right now.
Yeah.
Don't
For
wait.
Don't wait till the crisis time. Don't wait till your loved one's not able to make those decisions for themselves, or that you're not able to make those decisions for yourself. I would talk about them now.
Yeah.
And I would even talk about them with the younger generation as well, children and grandchildren, that it become a thing that we do talk about instead of a thing that we keep quiet.
There are some wonderful living will forms and on the internet as well as at the hospital. And if you want to catch me after, I've even got some of the funeral homes have pre-planning funeral books. But the main thing is the DNR. That's going to be your main thing.
I was told that regardless of what you, like my husband and I had said, nothing, no
Life support.
extra life support.
Mm-hmm.
But I was told that even if you sign that, it can be
Reversed.
negated.
Reverse. So sometimes that happens if your loved ones don't understand
Yeah.
what your wishes are. So let's say you've never had this conversation with
I've
your
had this
children.
conversation.
So let's say you've never had it with your children. You may have had it with your husband.
No, I've had it with my children.
If your children know and it's written down, it won't be negated. Won't be. Because there's no reason for a physician to negate that. But sometimes what happens is you've got the crazy child from California who comes in and they haven't had this conversation with mama and they don't know what's going on. And then they're the ones saying to the doctor, I'm going to sue if you don't do this. And so then oftentimes it's reversed in a crisis mode, often because the conversation hasn't happened.
And that's why it's real important for you to make sure that your physician has your documentation and that documentation is on file. When my uncle was late in his cancer, late in life,
we had the DNR taped to the door, so that if the ambulance came, it was right there. I mean, literally, you have to get it in that healthcare professional's hands. That's the key to
What
that.
we, my husband and I did, we have our living will, we gave a copy to each one of our children.
But one of
That way
our
they
children
know
says,
what
I
we
can't
want
do that.
And don't do anything else.
Legally, they don't have a
Let's talk
choice.
afterwards. You know. I love it.
Any other questions? Yes.
My wife is having to take care of her daddy, who has dementia. And a lot of what she knows is what she's learning every day.
Absolutely.
Because and one thing you can't do with dementia is harm you.
That's very true. And remember, this is all they see.
Fantastic questions, comments. I hate to stop this.
That's okay.
Thank you so much. This has been fabulous.